Hey guys. Okay. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. Let's get metaphysical. I created this day where you can learn something new in the realm of metaphysics. And of course, I'm starting my first very exciting series that is based on plasma intelligence. This is the entire reason I got into metaphysics. I'm sure most of you right now are like, what the F is plasma intelligence? It's plasma metaphysics, basically. It's the same kind of vibe, same kind of thing. I am going to explain to you what plasma intelligence is and how it will literally change your life forever for the better. I know that's a big thing to say, and I usually say, take my words with a grain of salt. I'm telling you, in some way, your life will be changed from this knowledge. So stay tuned. I'm about to tell you what I'm going to get into in this series, and it's going to be really exciting stuff. I'm going to try to make this video as simple and digestible as I can, but plasma is a very complicated, complex topic. And there are so many facets of it. It is like a beautiful crystal. So I can only simplify it so much. But in this video, in the first couple of videos, I will definitely start you off on a slow pace to help you guys kind of assimilate to the newness that is plasma. So for anyone that doesn't know what it is, do not worry, I've got you. Before I get into the different episodes that I'm going to be presenting you guys about plasma and what it is, and the coolness and magic of it, I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal story and why I got so attracted to this very strange subject. It all started in a very interesting way. I was going through something hard in my life emotionally, and I randomly thought I had been meditating for like a couple months at this point, transcendental meditation, and I thought of the infinity symbol like out of nowhere. I don't know why. So I decided to Google it, and it led to something called a feedback loop, which makes sense because the infinity symbol is a feedback loop. And then from that, I found the word plasma and plasma physics. And I started looking at it, and I don't know why I got this. It's almost like this weird voice inside of me said something about, well, plasma might have intelligence, or there's something to this plasma that they're not talking about. And I don't know why. I do not know why I thought that, guys. And I thought I was kind of crazy. And then a year later, this book, A New Science of Heaven by Robert Temple, comes out. I will leave the link below. And it completely gave me permission to talk about this stuff that I felt like I needed to almost hide, or like no one would understand me. And that book was about plasma physics and how that knowledge can change your life, and how the physics of plasma basically proved that that plasma has intelligence, that it is a form of possibly sentient life, different than our life, but I will get into that later. But basically, plasma is very magical. So anyway, I can give a better explanation than that, but I will do that on the video that's about him. But that just even opened up my mind more into reading the book and kind of coming up with my own questions and perspectives on things as well, based on what I was already researching. But it is such a great jumping off point for anyone who wants to learn about plasma physics and a little bit of plasma metaphysics and in plasma intelligence. And then I came across Nassim Haramein, which I also highly recommend. He is a physicist, and he's kind of against the grain of a lot of science. I don't think that's a bad thing, to be completely honest. He's very open-minded, but he's very smart. And he kind of is like a modern day Nikola Tesla. And he talked about how Plancks, which are these very, very, very small particles, are little mini black holes, and that they're creating the universe basically. And he called them, I think at one point he called them like plasmatic, or he started talking about plasma and toruses. And for those of you that don't know, the torus is a huge symbol of plasma, which I promise I will also get into. But anyway, fast forward, I'm a plasma obsessor, obsessed with plasma metaphysics. I think it's gonna like change the world. I have since been experimenting with connecting with it, which has brought me closer in connecting with myself and other people. It has completely changed my psychology, how I look at life in a positive way. I live life with more love, with more kindness. There's nothing negative that can come from it as long as you're using it for good, which I think is one of the reasons why people don't want maybe people to know about this stuff. But like anything, like technology, you can use it for bad or good. I think this is the same thing, but I think either way, this knowledge has to be out there, and we need to have more faith in people. People inherently are good, and yes, there is so much bad in the world, but I think we need to unleash this almost magic, like Prometheus did. Unleash the fire is the same thing, plasma and fire. It's so exciting. I'll get into it, but I would love to be like this modern day Prometheus with all my other Prometheus people, since I'm not the inventor of this knowledge. I'm just one of the people that feel connected to it and are seeing it in my own perspective. I think everyone has their own perspective when it comes to plasma, which is why it's so exciting, because there's not one gatekeeper. But I think this knowledge has been hidden in secret societies, in religions. It's been suppressed, and I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. I really believe that, and I think you will believe that too after watching these videos. And I get I get people maybe wanted to hide this knowledge because it could get in the wrong hands, and I get it, but I think with everyone's consciousness raising, it really is time to give away this and let the people have free will and let them do what they will with it. And it's the next step of evolution, right? Yeah. So in science, they say plasma is a superheated matter that is so hot that electrons are ripped away, causing it to be an ionized gas. Make sure I got that right. And it comprises over 99.9, some people say, of the whole entire universe. That is a lot of universe to comprise of, where we are not talking about this thing more. Like matter is 1%, and they're saying plasma is the 99%. That actually makes the 1%, which I will get into in the science episode. Why don't more people know about this? Like, you have to ask those questions, I'm going to give you my definition of plasma, which I'm just gonna come up with right now. I think that it is a neutral clay-like, ineffable substance, interstitial fluid medium that is inside of us, it is outside of us, it impermeates us in the entire universe. It is what all the other elements rise out of and go back to. It is what we rise out of and go back to. It is part of what the soul is made out of. It is sentience, and then there is consciousness. I think plasma is a vehicle for that consciousness, that we can impress our consciousness on this plasma to create physical matter. I think that plasma heals. I think that plasma is a method for communication with other dimensions and realities. And I know that might sound cray, but so did airplanes a couple 100 years ago, or 100 years ago. So yeah, I think anything can happen. I think that plasma is the future as far as fusion goes, and cold fusion and different futuristic inventions. I think it's part of the solar punk movement and the optimistic futurism movement. I think it's part of free energy and what Nikola Tesla was working on. I think it is this yellow or purple pink plasmatic energy that maybe some people have seen in meditation or sleep or in near-death experiences. I think it's the thing that when we impress what we want in life into it, whether we're coming from a traumatized state, an evil state, a good state, that, it makes those things happen. And it is such an important tool that we can use. It is a thing we can be in a relationship with. It is a thing we can show love to and receive love from. And ultimately, get ready for this, ultimately, plasma is us. There is space plasma on the outside, maybe known in mythology as the Akashic realm. There is bioplasma, which is known maybe as our bodies, our aura, And then there is blood plasma, which is a yellow substance inside or something to do with blood. I have a theory that that actually is how our body communicates very fast, because I think as above, so below. And I think that even though the inner plasma and the outer plasma in science are two different things, there's no coincidence they have the same name, and I believe that they're actually the same thing. In this series, I will be talking about a slew of topics that have to do with plasma. I will be talking about the mythology of plasma, which gets more into Inanna. It gets more into when they talked about in the Bible making people out of clay. I think that they're talking about plasma. Get into Mary Magdalene and the vessel and how I think what that has to do with plasma. What Hermes has to do with plasma, the interdimensional traveler in mythology. That one's a really cool one. How animism and plasma have a lot to do with each other, and also what they talk about in the Quran, the jinn, and there is so much there with comparison to plasma. Basically, in all mythologies, you can connect them to plasma, and it is wild. When I read all this, I'm like, has no one thought of this? And I've seen around on the internet, a couple people are starting to think about it, and I'm like, I'm definitely not the only one. And I will leave a footnote. It's kind of funny because when I first discovered this stuff, I think I wasn't as spiritually evolved, not like I really am now. I think we're always evolving, but I was like, oh, I'm the only one to know this. I want to be the first one to publish a book on it. And then I had to check myself. I was like, Dana, this is not your knowledge. This is something you're borrowing, that you're channeling to tell people and for them to make their own conclusions. You do not own plasma. No one owns plasma. This is a beautiful thing that is being remembered, that is part of nature, that is part of all of us. And once again, this is just my perspective, and that I don't need a rush to get a book out there right now, even though I am writing one, and that's what inspired this series. But yeah, none of us own this, and that's what's so cool about it. I will also be talking about the people of plasma, like Nikola Tesla, Alexis Didier. There is a slew of people. I won't get into it all now. The different names for plasma: orgone energy, chi, prana, animal magnetism, bioplasmic energy, love, gravity, quintessence, implicate and explicate order, complexity theory. I will be talking about psychology in plasma and how it relates to symbolism and Carl Jung, and how I equate plasma to being called the trickster. That part is very interesting as well. I will be talking about plasma intelligence and what inorganic versus organic matter is and how that relates to plasma. I will be talking about the language of plasma as far as symbolism goes, and how you can communicate with plasma, which is ultimately communicating with yourself, but also with other sentient beings. And there are differences between light beings and plasma beings, and that was something that I feel like is really cool, and also just my opinion, but if it resonates with you, great. How magic and plasma have a lot to do with each other. And I will also be talking about my own plasma theories, which is what I'm most excited for. It is all theoretical, but whatever. So is everything else until it's invented. I will be talking about a familial relationship theory I have going, that I'm coming up with, about how I think the universe is as it pertains to plasma. I will be talking about more about how I think you can communicate with other realities and dimensions using plasma, how you can maybe access your inner self through the lens of plasma, other dimensions and sacred geometry and fractals and how that all relates to plasma. And I know I'm just listing stuff off, but I'm just hoping that this kind of dings when you guys are listening and it's resonating with you, because there's just so much to talk about. And lastly, I will talk about how to be like plasma. Just like Bruce Lee had a book, or his daughter, one of them had a book, Be Like Water. I think it was his own kind of thought process. I, have a saying, be like plasma, and that's almost like be like nature. And what does that entail? And the cosmic waters, the ocean, the universal cosmic ocean, and plasma, I think that's the same thing. So I'm pretty sure plasma and water can be a little interchangeable. But yeah, I'm really excited. In conclusion, I would love to know if you guys have ever heard of this plasma stuff, Is it confusing the crap out of you? Do you want to know more about it? Are there any theories that you have or things you want to hear about or specific topics for episodes? Please put it down below and subscribe, like, and comment on my stuff, please, so this information can get out there more. The only reason I'm doing this channel is because I am having fun and I want to help people. I have felt, so lonely at times in my life, and I want people to realize that there are beautiful ways that they can at least connect with themselves and this, fluid. At least for me, that helped me connect with other people. That helped me connect more with the world. It helped me kind of live in more of a state of love than fear, and not in some like spiritual bypassy way. This is like in a beautiful, grounded, healthy way. I will also say, just as a last word, it is very, 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 very important to work on any trauma you've had in your past before stepping into this work fully, because plasma is very reflective. And just like I had nightmares when I was a kid because I hadn't worked on myself yet, things can be a little bit harder when you're not coming maybe from the right place or the most healthiest place and working with this stuff. So I really recommend, don't do any of this until you're ready. If you just want to learn about it, just learn about it. But as far as putting anything I'm going to talk about into practice, I would wait until you've had a couple years of therapy and you're feeling healthy. Not like, we're all works in progress, but like the major traumas, I definitely think you should work on before jumping right into this. And I'll leave it at that for now. That will be a whole nother video as well. It's almost like if plasma is a spaceship and there's like instructions for rocket science that you need to drive your vehicle. I feel like that's a good one, because it is like a vehicle for consciousness. It's our own little like spaceship. So anyway, I will leave you guys. I hope you all have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Thank you for anyone who's even watching this, and I love you all. Mwah, plasma.